What's up, guys? This video is about my honest review of Hawaii, Oahu. I've been wanting to make it out there for some time. I finally did a trip about 3 months ago. I went to Oahu. I think about 9 days, and I didn't really plan any of it. I have a history of doing a lot of my travels in kind of Latin America, Central America. Kind of where it usually worked out better if you left the slate open, because you don't really know a place, and it was just I got to the point where I was doing kind of Costa Rica, Panama, or places like that, where I would just kind of Mexico. I would go to those places, and then I would have these trips for like 8 days. Then I would book an Airbnb apartment for those 8 days, and then I didn't like the region, or I didn't like the Airbnb, blah, blah, blah. And I got burned a few times that way. So I got to the point that I would do the trips like that and kind of book 1 or 2 nights, the first 2 nights, get there, kind of get a feel for the lay of the land and how everything feels. And then, decide, after a day or two, talking to people, walking around, getting the feel of, where I want to go to next, and kind of piecemeal it like that. Like much of the U.S., that was really hard to do, traveling to Hawaii, Oahu. So I went from, it was only an Oahu trip. I wanted to do multi islands, but I was trying to get a thorough. My budget wasn't great, and although I probably at the end of what I kind of ended up spending, so I wanted to do a thorough Oahu, and then I wanted to, keep it a little more budget friendly, and kind of take my time figuring, later in life I could do the other islands, and Oahu would be checked off, and I wouldn't have to revisit because I already kind of checked all that off. But anyway, so I chose Oahu first initially because the flights were actually, there was one other island, I don't remember at this point, but the flights were cheaper there. But there was actually another island where the flights were just as cheap. I wasn't sure if I was going to rent a car, so I wanted to leave the option of public transportation open, because Oahu is the only place where you could use public transportation, buses, things like that. Obviously it wouldn't be great, but the other islands don't have that option. So I wanted to leave that open, seeing how the budget, how everything, once I was there on the ground, maybe I needed to not have a car for a few days, whatever. But, and then also when I initially booked the ticket, the accommodation in Oahu was much cheaper than other islands, specifically much cheaper than Maui. So, I went ahead, booked the ticket to Oahu, from San Diego, and about 5 months before, just to kind of, I saw the ticket go down to, I paid like $250. I saw the ticket go down to like pretty low. So, instead of, continuing to watch, I just hit the, I don't think it gets much lower than that. So I bought it for $250, great price, round trip. Landed in, spent the first 2 nights, booked the first 2 nights actually at a hotel in Waikiki. I did the first 3 nights at a hotel in Waikiki, but it was the hotel rented out by, I guess these college kids bought the hotel room. Like there was a couple of them in the Airbnb chat, and then they rented it out for substantially lower than the hotel. So that was kind of interesting. You were like in this okay hotel, but you paid a lot less, but also you didn't really get some of the amenities of the hotel, like just kind of like shit going on in reception, and I don't know, like the whatever it was called, the stuff I really wouldn't be into anyway. But so I landed in Waikiki. Waikiki was first of all, the Uber driver from the airport to Waikiki was he was cool. That was an expensive Uber, but airports, they usually are. And yeah, the hotel was okay. It was a little weird that I couldn't that I was staying in the hotel, but I couldn't get those amenities, but as like the typical hotel guest. But I spent the first couple, those first couple nights in Waikiki, kind of trying to get a feel of just Oahu and what I was going to do. I didn't rent the car immediately. Walked around a lot, checked out the surf in that area. I was kind of in Waikiki, more towards I forgot if west east at this point. 3 months later, but it wasn't in the heart of Waikiki. It wasn't where like the statue of Duke was. It was maybe 20 minutes walking south, I want to say. But so those 3 nights, I went to Maui Brewery. I walked around. I checked out the surf in a couple different locations within that area. There's a couple breaks through there. Again, I went late August, early September. Something I didn't even really realize, that there is not a lot of surf anywhere else in Oahu aside from the Waikiki side in that season, in that time frame that I visited. Because Hawaii's actually, Oahu is very hyper seasonal when it comes to surfing. Unlike Southern California, which it is seasonal, it's a lot bigger right now. For instance, it's mid-December, but anyway, I'll get to that. So rented a board in the middle of, the main area of Waikiki. I spent like, I don't know, like $15 for 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours, I don't remember. I found a lady like in the middle of the a couple streets back of the downtown. Rented there, beautiful kind of really warm turquoise waters, similar to the Caribbean. It was very crowded, big scene, people on various devices and various types of boards, and people longboarding with their dogs, and people surfing on their head, locals, kids, lots of just a whole scene of very slow, long, rideable wave, like a prettier, warmer version of San Hilijo, Cardiff Reef, and basically very crowded though. You're gonna be waiting in lines at various peaks, small peaks. I took the board and I paddled out pretty far all along. Excuse me. All along the various different shorelines over there, like within, I don't know, a couple hundred feet or whatever. I tried some of those. Overall, pretty just a longboard spot. It's like San Elijo, Cardiff Reef, a little bit, a lot warmer, less rocky from what I determined. Although definitely stuff swimming in the water due to the tropical nature of it. But very crowded, kind of far from my hotel. I learned on my last night that there was actually even more south from where I was at. There was a better place to surf, less crowded. But I wanted to give a try to the Waikiki scene, where Duke and all that. So I did that, and then I walked around there a couple times. Waikiki is just, in my opinion, I guess what happens to a lot of places that are very popular and kind of a hot mess, in my opinion. Just a very, it's pretty, but it's also like busy, very, very, very busy, tourists and locals alike. Very crowded, very kind of Art Deco, like South Beach, and a lot of those shops like Gucci and Louis Vuitton and all that tacky stuff everywhere. Cheesecake factories and very touristy, stuff like that. But also urban, and the locals, and some back streets actually reminded me of like Thailand and when I went to Asia and stuff like that. So some of the streets kind of were like that, and then some of the streets were like Gucci, Cheesecake Factory, Chili's, what's that draft house that's everywhere? I don't know, that chain mall, beer garden, draft house that's everywhere. Can't think of the name right now. Crap, that's bugging me. What is that name? Anyway, well, one of those crap you see in the mall everywhere, all over the U.S. But lots of homeless people. Lots of homeless people living on the streets wearing Hawaiian shirts. Kind of, even they're part of that, the whole scene, the mashup of, and then Waikiki, the nightlife. You had Maui Brewery. You had lots of restaurants. A couple strange kind of other small places. It seemed like everybody was drinking the Golden Road Brewery, which has like the mango cart and the pineapple. I stayed away from anything Golden Road. I love the I don't even remember at this point, the Maui Ripper IPA. Was drinking a lot of that. The Maui Brewery in Waikiki was pretty legit. I went to another one on, I want to say, the east side of the island, in another kind of bougie area, a little bit cleaner than Waikiki, and that Maui Brewery wasn't as good. But so anyway, enough Waikiki. It was, just all over the place. It's, basically take South Beach and throw in a few, surfboard decor icons, sneak that in there, add a couple statues of Duke and stuff like that, and then, that's Waikiki. Add a lot more homeless. After that, I rented the car through Turo. I think I paid like $250. I went for like the next 6 days or whatever it was, and it was kind of a rundown. Not a rundown. It was like it wasn't rundown. It was a little old, 2010 Toyota Corolla. And then I drove all around through the island. After that, the other 5-6 days, lots of traffic, very busy. Certain parts of. I also stayed in downtown one night, and then but this kind of the method that I would do in like Costa Rica or Mexico, for instance, kind of bit me, because me waiting to book accommodations like that, often they went up 1.5 to almost 2 times in price. So if you go to Hawaii, I can't speak for the other islands, but I imagine it's the same. If you go to Oahu, and you see the prices low, like when I booked the trip, a couple months before, the prices for accommodation, they were like 70, 80 a night, like not bad. Me waiting, they were 130, went up a ton. So that bit me. The downtown, I stayed a night downtown. I stayed a night in just kind of this local kind of residential area that was kind of near the harbor a little bit, and then drove through the east side a bit. I stayed in the infamous, everybody kept telling me to go to the North Shore. I stayed in the North Shore. The North Shore was very cool, very quiet though. I guess it was off season. They had a lot of surf shops. They had a nice Rip Curl surf shop up there. They had a nice coffee shop where I should find the name of it. You guys won't miss it. I think it's called like North Shore Coffee or something, but it's right on that main road. And you get a big plate of breakfast and a coffee, and it's like $25, but nice big cold brew, huge plate of breakfast. No, it's not 25, it's like $20, but everything's high out there, but that was something that was worth it to me. And then you got a bunch of shops over there, lots of surf shops up in the North Shore. I went to Waimea Bay. That was actually one of the highlights. I woke up super early one morning, got parking right in the middle, which apparently is pretty hard to do. Or right on the recreational parking lot. It's usually always full. It's usually really hard to do that. Parked right there one morning, and then I had a snorkel from my Airbnb host, a snorkel mask and everything. Again, no surf on the North Shore. It was complete off season. That surprised me. I thought it was going to be like California, where there's an off season, but there's still something. So I got to do no surf on the North Shore. But but yeah, parked there early in the morning. I did Sharky's Cove. Is it called Shark's Cove? Yeah, something like that. Shark's Cove. And then snorkeled there, and a lot of you got to wear shoes, a lot of sharp reef through there. I saw some colorful fish and stuff like that. But nowhere near like Koh Tao, Thailand, where I was seeing like crazy shit when I snorkeled there. Waimea Bay was very sick. One of my highlights. Parked right there that morning. Had my snorkel and everything. I didn't end up using it. I used it one time, but just swimming in that warm water back and forth that bay. Super great. There's a little rock to jump off of. I didn't end up doing that because I don't know. I should have, but I was worried about my stuff. I had like a little beach set up, like towel, and I don't know, climb all the way up there. It would have been fine, but anyway. So yes, that was great. Just swimming back and forth that bay, the gorgeous bay. Again, it was flat, no surf, which is a little crazy, but the shoreline was great. We saw little hills on one side, some green, some nice sailboats. That was pretty epic. And then the North Shore, going north, wrapped around east. It's just, it gets pretty dead outside of the main North Shore strip. A couple grocery stores, a lot of locals, kind of blue collar locals, and then the occasional tourist you see waddling around these grocery stores with like Miller Lights or something. And then it's that main strip and the North Shore. It was pretty dead. It's one road that's maybe, I want to say, they got the famous shrimp trucks that everybody goes. It gets the famous like shrimp dishes, shrimp and garlic. They got one taco night that's pretty far south, I want to say, on that trail, like right when not the trail, but right when that road begins, there's like a taco night on Tuesdays. When you go in the north, there's a 7-Eleven that's kind of at the end of it and kind of in the middle. And then, you got a Rip Curl shop. You got various small indie surf shops that just sell North Shore, whatever, on everything. There's a Patagonia store over there. I wouldn't really recommend it. They just sell T-shirts that say Hawaii, and they're $50. So but if you really want to get something like that, there's a couple seafood restaurants, couple coffee shops. I'm not remembering the name right now, but the bigger one on that road, if you drive to the North Shore, you'll see it, and that has the epic breakfast, and you can get a place to sit, and it's pretty quick. It's not full service. You don't have to do the whole take your order, try to close out, all that. It's pretty quick. And then the roads over there, just kind of outside of that little road, they're kind of rural-ish. So that was the off season in Oahu. I drove around back the east side. I also drove through it too. I was just driving around, exploring. I didn't do too much the west. I did a little bit. I was hearing there's a lot more crime over there. I did some downtown Honolulu, which actually had kind of oddly reminded me of LA a lot. A lot of LA vibes. Downtown, it was very kind of gray-ish, smoggy. Lots of homeless people in the Chinatown area, where a lot of the younger people went out. That was the nightlife. Oddly, just like kind of reminded me, because New York City, it all congregated Chinatown, Lower East Side, so it was kind of some kind of theme like that with the university kids and the military and people. They would all go out pretty hard, and the tourists alike, and just flat out, the locals. Everybody would kind of congregate in the Chinatown area, and lots of homeless though. Very kind of just a little bit of eerie, murky vibes, kind of like a LA thing in downtown Honolulu. So my overall opinion on Oahu, I did a lot of the hikes. I did the waterfall hike. I'm just completely remembering all the names right now because it was a couple months ago, and this is an impromptu video just kind of recapping and highlighting some Oahu thoughts. But I did the waterfall hike. The main hike that I wanted to do was that hike to the radio tower that had like a big history up these steps, but apparently it's closed now, and they're giving out $1,000 fines. People are sneaking in. They're still doing it. That was one of the main, Stairway to Heaven or something, was one of the main hikes that was on my list for a while. The waterfall hike, you got some pretty epic, kind of in the east, center east, like say Waikiki's here, and then like here a little bit is like all these green. It's like a big patch of hilly green, Jurassic Park, kind of iconic Hawaii type vibes, while a lot of the other parts of the island, like the North Shore, is just pretty flat and not as picturesque as what people think. But so the waterfall hike was in that area, the kind of green lush area. Driving through that, I took some videos driving through around those hills, and that hike, it was an easy hike. It wasn't too crowded. It was a little crowded, but pretty easy. There was a little side trail where you could see bamboos. The waterfall itself was a little underwhelming. It was just a little tiny bit of water, and then there was a couple local kids swimming in it, small hole, and what else? Not too challenging, but it was worth it because you have some areas where you could take the photos of the kind of Jurassic Park lush greenery. And then I did the trail that's pretty close to Waikiki. I ended up just taking an Uber there. It was like $15 or something, south of my whole south or southeast of kind of under. I'm losing that direction there, but it's the hike trail where you can see, basically, that looks over Waikiki. You can see Waikiki. You can see the waters and the cliffs, and you can pull that up actually. And let's see. So kind of like that. So you got views like that, pretty epic views. But the hike itself wasn't that challenging. Again, I guess I thought that I really should have tagged the name of these hikes, shouldn't I? I think it's called the Diamond Head. Here's the waterfall at the end of the waterfall hike. Should have remembered that name. But here's driving through that lush, kind of mountainous region of Oahu that I was saying. But then there's also all that kind of gray collection. I don't know if in this particular shot if that's smog or what, but and here was kind of my favorite, swimming in the Waimea Bay area. And then here's some just kind of, with the waterfall hike, there's some of those views that you see of that lush kind of area. So the hikes were pretty easy. So it wasn't as peaky. And at least from the available hikes, the popular ones, as I was led on to believe. But some pretty epic views, a bit easy hikes, which led to kind of congestion with a lot of families on the trails and kind of stuff like that. Apparently, I never. I guess that's. Overall, I little for kind of the price of it was just overall my opinion on visiting Oahu. The kind of my thoughts on the overall opinion of it. I think it wasn't as valuable as I kind of paid for, just the cost of everything. And some of that's on me, I guess, because I tried to do it like this, last minute. I'm going to find this cool neighborhood or this, I'm going to do this today. I didn't plan it a lot up front because I got used to not doing that in certain countries. So it was a very expensive trip, one of my most expensive that I've ever been to. So uh, it was beautiful, but there was a lot of just like an American city, and I guess that comes with it. There was a lot of congestion, lots of traffic, very very populated, very busy, some smog and pollution, lots of homeless people in the downtown area. Waikiki was just everybody. That was a again, this is the off season. Waikiki was just packed with tourists, homeless, locals alike, just mashed up into, some of the sidewalks were just elbow to elbow. In the surf was not the most packed that I've seen. I mean, you can get in there, but it was pretty packed. And I mean, it's packed in California too, in SoCal. But so, all of the, basically, and then the north end, the north side, the North Shore was pretty dead on the opposite end of the spectrum. It was pretty dead, but it, because it didn't, the North Shore, I think, is highlighted by the, the big waves and the surfing, and there wasn't any of that literally at all in the off season. I saw, driving around at 6, I saw a few people out there kind of chasing ankle biters at like 6 in the morning, with longboards. But so in that kind of time frame, in that season, Waikiki, in that area, in that geography, you can go north and up around Waikiki. You don't have to do it in the center, but that was the only kind of available surf, which is mostly longboard style surf. So the North Shore was pretty dead, but so yeah, it's, I guess it just goes hand in hand with traveling in the States. But if you would do a similar trip in Costa Rica, Panama, Indonesia, Thailand, places like that, you would just get so much more value. It would be a lot cheaper, a lot of those difficulties, expenses, and kind of, stuff like that. So my opinion is, for Oahu, at least, I think 3 days is enough. If you pack let's say 3 nights, 4 days, if you pack a solid itinerary and plan it way ahead, and just get everything organized, the expenses and everything, and do it that way, and I think that will be great. No more than that, just because it's like traveling California. It's very expensive. It's very hard to do. Things are not as accessible. You have to have a big budget. And you got all the problems that come with the United States and big cities and homeless and kind of maybe political. So